I'm Femi. Okay, welcome to the Stream Home Edition. Today we're going to be talking about deep fakes and the coming infocalypse. I know the person who can say that absolutely perfectly. Her name is Nina Schick. She is the author of this book. Nina, welcome to the stream. Really good to see you.
Great to
We
be
are
here,
going
Femi.
to use you as a resource. We have YouTube, we have commenters, we have people online who are going to chat. So if you are in the comment section, you want to talk to Nina, you absolutely can do it. You know what to do? Jump into the comment section, put your comment in there. We're trying to get as many as possible into the show. Nina, we have so many questions for you. People have read the book, people are curious about the ideas. I'm going to say a sentence and I want you to finish the sentence. So this book is about
the corroding information ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
The corroding
There are three
information ecosystem.
Yeah, there are three things I want to ask you just to get out of the way before I open it up to our audience around the world. One is the perfect description of misinformation. Go ahead.
It's basically bad information that is spread even without necessarily an intent to deceive.
Your description for what disinformation is?
Disinformation is another type of bad information, but this is made with the express intent of deceiving.
Infocalypse, that's not your word, but it really relates to a lot of the work you're doing. Can you explain that?
The Infocalypse, it's hard
Thank you, Nina.
say, but it's kind of a wordplay on information apocalypse. And I use it to describe this information ecosystem which we exist in, which is increasingly defined by mis and disinformation.
Your book is incredibly present, very, very relevant for right now. Sander read your book and then he wanted to ask you a question about it in a very creative way. Here he is. Have a listen, Nina.
After reading your book, I started playing with all these new technologies. And soon I was able to create
a clip of your voice, to take a few photos of you from social media, and then recreate you doing insane things that you never did.
And it made me wonder, what will happen to our shared sense of reality if everybody can create its own version of reality? And even if you look nowadays at deepfakes, fake news, conspiracy theories, are we already past the point of no return?
That is absolutely fantastic. I know Sander, we've worked together and he's basically portrayed so vividly there by actually face swapping into what was my former living room and manipulating my words. Why deepfakes are just so dangerous, because they are the latest evolving threat in this crisis of information that we're facing, but they are the most sophisticated form of manipulation we've ever seen, because anybody's words, their image can be used and manipulated and hijacked by any actor who basically, because AI is going to automate fake media, doesn't even need any resources or expertise to manipulate media. So we're about to face an avalanche of AI-generated fake media in an information ecosystem which is already replete with bad information. So this is just the next step in an already corroding information ecosystem where the notion of reality is already being undermined.
Nina, I want to give people an idea of how easy it is for AI to create people, create faces. There's a website called This Person Does Not Exist. If you're watching right now, you're online, go and have a look at it. This is the face that I'm going to start with, and then I'm going to refresh my browser, and then you'll see the face will change. And what you're looking at, these people don't actually exist. This is not a real person. Nina, what's happening here?
Well, essentially the power of AI to generate fake media, and this can be anything. It can be an image, it can be a video, it can be a piece of audio, it can even be synthetic text, is nascent. It's been around for about 3.5 years. And what you're seeing there on that website is basically an AI model that's been trained on data of hundreds of thousands of human faces so that it's learned what a human face is and can automatically generate non-existent human faces. And this is why deepfakes and synthetic media are just so fascinating, because they are the very start of a process whereby artificial intelligence will be wholly able to generate fake media. You see it there in those fake people, but as this technology gets better, it's going to expand into videos, audio, text. It's not only going to be human faces, it's anything you can imagine, really.
The fascination is definitely being picked up by our audience. Have a look here at this tweet. We were telling people about you coming up and you being on the stream today. So talking about deep fakes, and then underneath that, John Byrne says, how do we know that it is really you? And we have another comment saying, well, could it be really you? Maybe it is, maybe it's not. So there's some tongue-in-cheek fun about that. But there is a serious underlying point, which is, can we tell if it's a real person or not a real person?
Well, that is exactly one of the dangers of the coming age of synthetic media, because one of the manifestations of synthetic media is going to be in these digital avatars and increasingly completely synthetic humans, which also will be used for mis and disinformation. But even before we get there, the weird paradox is that as people become aware of deepfakes, which is necessary to inoculate the public against their risks, it also means that everybody starts denying, or the credibility of authentic media starts being undermined as well. So you're really in this place where if you're a bad actor, you can also dismiss any kind of authentic media as being a deep fake or faked. So you're getting to this place where you simply don't know what's real or not anymore, even before synthetic media is ubiquitous. This thing called the liar's dividend is already giving bad actors a lot of currency.
I just want to bring in YouTube here because people are watching right now and they're wondering about the age that we're in. So Taylor says, hi Taylor, thanks for being part of the show. I feel privileged to have learned young that just because you see something on a blog, social media or website, that doesn't mean that it is true. How can we effectively teach this to the tech illiterate, Nina?
Well, that is really one of the biggest challenges, because I think the first step is just the conceptualization of the vast scale of the problem and the challenge here. It's an entire paradigm change in the way that we understand information, consume and process information. So when you talk about digital literacy, that is one part of the puzzle when it comes to building solutions, and it's a very important one. But I think there has to be a recognition that the scale of the problem is so vast that it's not only about digital literacy, but it's also about enforcing technical solutions and building society-wide resilience, to which digital literacy is one part of the solution.
You're watching this conversation, I'm sure, audience, and you may not see the dangers quite yet in AI, synthetic technology. I want to share with you a quote from Nina's book. Deepfake porn is an undeniably gendered phenomenon. Of the hundreds of videos I scrolled through on the new deepfake porn sites, I did not see a single one of a male celebrity. No Brad Pitt, George Clooney, or Johnny Depp. Now here we're getting into the dark side of deepfakes. Tell us more, Nina.
Well, the first manifestation of deepfakes, surprise, surprise, when it started leaching out of the AI research community, this amazing ability of AI to generate fake media, the first application was in non-consensual porn. In so many ways, pornography is pioneering, just as it was at the very beginning of the age of the internet. And an anonymous user calling himself Deepfakes basically use some of these open source tools out of the AI research community to start making his own AI generated non-consensual porn films, where he took real porn films and managed to get AI to generate the faces of female celebrities into the film. So these were female celebrities being targeted. He showed other users how he had made them. And from there, because he was posting them on Reddit, it went wild. It caused a furore. Deepfake porn was banned off Reddit, but the genie was truly out of the bottle. And since then, which was less than 3 years ago, there's an entire deepfake porn ecosystem online. Every celebrity you can imagine is targeted, but it's not only celebrities, it is also increasingly normal women. But again, it is a gendered phenomenon. It is almost universally targeted against women. And there's been some very alarming reports recently of deepfake porn also being targeted against minors. So this very malicious use case of AI shows how your biometrics can be hijacked to put you in a situation which you never inhabited.
I want to bring in Dr. Giorgio, who talks about an investigation that he and his colleagues did looking into, I don't want to spoil the story, but it's to do with deep fake nudes and porn, and have a listen to what he found out. This is something that happened in just the past couple of weeks.
Last month, we uncovered with a new investigation that more than 100,000 people were attacked by a deepfake bot hosted on messaging groups on Telegram, able to fake naked pictures of people starting from a single photo taken from their social media account. Now, with anybody able to place our face in fake imagery, showing us in compromising or intimate situation, we are personally under the serious threats of blackmail, extortion, and public shaming online.
Well, this was an incredible report that Giorgio's company, Sensity AI, is actually a deepfake detection company, released just last week or last month, which basically unveiled that on Telegram, the messaging app, this technology had been wrapped up in an interface where users could simply send an image of any woman or a minor fully clothed, which they'd taken perhaps from her social media, and then this bot, which Telegram was hosting, would use the AI to generate an image of that woman or indeed child nude. Now, there were over 100,000 images being shared publicly, and when Sensity originally asked Telegram to take down the bot, they didn't even answer, and it was only when this report was released and it got a lot of public attention that Telegram released that bot. But the most important thing to remember here is that technology is becoming increasingly accessible and anybody can be targeted, right? We're talking here about one image taken from a woman or a child's social media. And while this manifestation was a non-consensual fake porn, it can be used in a whole host of other settings. It could be used as fraud, it could be used as blackmail. So we're only really starting to see the tip of the iceberg of what's to come.
We could do, Nina, the whole show on deep fake porn and nudes and what's happening to women online, women and kids online. But I'm going to move on because Matt Stafford picked up on another idea that you were talking about. I know you really look into geopolitics and what's happening with AI and deep fakes. So this is a sweet spot for you. Let me hand over to Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
I think one of the things I find most alarming in the book is about the potential military applications of deep fakes. That idea that they could be used to create a kind of a fog of war. And with that in mind, given that it is much cheaper to set up and maintain and operate a troll farm than it is to do the same with a tank battalion, what do you think the future is of military spending over the next 10 years or so? How will we see it shift towards information warfare as opposed to traditional warfare?
I think that's a brilliant question. And I think, although I can't comment on spending figures, the top line is that in the 21st century, increasingly warfare is going to be fought in this information ecosystem. Information warfare is increasingly going to define warfare. And it's very difficult because unlike physical warfare, where you can see the tanks at the border or the little green men invading, you can't see information warfare. It's not tangible. Therefore, it becomes very, very effective. And the other thing about information warfare and the democratization of the weapons of information warfare is that it is no longer a thing that only state actors can wage. Well-organized groups can wage information warfare. Even an individual can wage information warfare, even against a state. So I think the when you look at warfare in the 21st century, it is increasingly going to be fought in this information space by more actors, and it's going to be increasingly difficult for citizens or groups to realize that they're actually under attack. And you can even look at the debate in the United States right now to understand how effective information warfare is, especially when it comes to foreign interference and disinformation.
What's making it even more difficult, Nina, and you point this out, is that now we're not sure what's real and what's not real. So if something looks a bit weird, now we're going to think that potentially it's not real. And so I want to bring in a story from Gabon that you shared, which was when the leader of Gabon went missing. He went on a trip to Saudi Arabia and he just went missing. And so during this whole period of people not knowing where he was, this video was released. I'm going to put you picture in picture, Nina, so you can explain why people thought this might be a deep fake. Let's roll the video, and Nina, you can comment on it. So here he is. Why does this look like it's fake?
So this is the perfect example of something known as the liar's dividend. In a world where anything can be faked, then everything can also be denied, and that can be used by bad actors. Now, the president of Gabon had basically gone on a trip, and foreign media reported that he had been ill. And it probably transpires that he had had a stroke, and he basically didn't appear in public for many, many months, and his critics were saying that the president was actually dead. He was incapacitated. And in order to quell those rumors, the president of Gabon and his allies released this video, but he looked very strange. His face didn't look normal. His eyes looked wide. It didn't quite look like him. So his opponents basically said that this was a deep fake and evidence that the president was dead. And 2 days later, there was the start of a military coup. It failed, but it just showed how powerful this video, which was actually authentic, and he probably looks odd because he had had a stroke and he had probably had Botox to alleviate the bad effects of the stroke. It shows how effective it can be to say authentic video is fake when it's not.
Right, I'm going to give you a little bit of a cough break there, Nina. It's hard when you're the only guest on the show and you've got to keep talking. So I'm going to go for a moment to Tyler Jeremiah. And Tyler Jeremiah is thinking about what is possible. Yeah, what we've been doing for a big chunk of the show with Nina is working out why deep fakes, when they're used in a sinister way, are problematic. Tyler is a student. He knows a lot about AI, and even he is surprised. Have a listen.
You know, as someone who's pretty much grown up on social media, I feel like before I had a pretty good understanding of how information gets manipulated. But man, was there so much I didn't know. And coming at this as a political science student, my main concern is how this AI technology and these deepfakes impact our politics. So my main question is, given that Joe Biden just won the presidency here in the US, what advice would you give his administration in dealing with this technology going forward?
I think that every politician who believes in liberal democracy and a shared reality to govern society and doesn't want to have never-ending information warfare should make an absolute point of priority the problems of the information ecosystem and focus on fixing the architecture in which this information ecosystem is molded. So what are the technical solutions we can embed right into the architecture of the information ecosystem so that as consumers and citizens, we basically get to separate some of the noise from the truth from the noise. So prioritize the truth. For example, you are increasingly able to think about the provenance of all media. So if, for example, you're a journalist, you are a human rights activist, and you want to show that the media that you're portraying is true and it hasn't been tampered with, and you're not somehow trying to benefit from the liar's dividend, you can build technology right into the hardware of your device, whether that's your phone or your camera, to prove that throughout the life of that media has not been tampered with. So that's the provenance side of the solution. On the other hand, you also have to think about building AI software to detect fakes, because as deep fakes become ubiquitous, they're not only going to inundate us, but their quality is going to be so good that to the naked human eye, we simply won't be able to tell whether it's real or fake. So you basically build AI detection tools so it can flag automatically whether or not it's fake. But that is always going to be a cat and mouse game, because as soon as your detector improves, the generating ability of AI to beat that detector will also improve.
There's a story from earlier this year connected with COVID where there's been a lot of misinformation and disinformation surrounding COVID, and that relates to Belgium. And Belgium had a deep fake situation, but it came via Extinction Rebellion. And what Extinction Rebellion did was they made their premier do a speech, make an announcement that was all about connecting climate and climate crisis to the current COVID crisis. I'm just going to give you a really close-up view of the premiere. This was the deep fake. If you look really closely, you can actually see, looks like the join here, Nina. Would you put this into a category of a deep fake being misleading, or is this in a category of where deep fakes can be helpful and useful if you're in the middle of a climate crisis? Is that a grey area?
So I would absolutely say that this is a misleading deepfake, because Extinction Rebellion, the controversial ecological activist group, basically manipulated a speech made by Sophie Wilmès, the Prime Minister of Belgium, in which she was made to say that COVID-19 was directly linked, like other pandemics, Ebola, SARS, to ecological destruction. Now, she had never actually said that. If you watch the video, it's not completely high fidelity. As Femi already pointed out, you can kind of see that her face doesn't look quite right, but that is not an indicator sometimes, the quality of the media, of whether or not people are fooled. And indeed, some people, when they saw that video circulating by Extinction Rebellion, really thought that Sophie Wilmès had made those comments. So it is a misrepresentation, an actual fabrication of a speech that a politician did not make. And given that it wasn't labeled very clearly, I would say that's absolutely a misuse of the technology.
Oh, we're getting so many questions, Nina, about how do you know? What should we do? In the what should we do category, I want to bring in the program director of Witness, Sam Gregory, because Sam is putting the onus not on us, the public, trying to deduce, is this a deep fake or is this not a deep fake? He's putting the onus on the creators. Here he is.
We can't expect the average person to be able to spot a deep fake. It's already hard and it's going to get harder. So there's a responsibility on the people who make the tools to create deepfakes to make it as easy as possible for a machine to spot the manipulation, and on platforms and video sharing sites to detect those manipulations and tell their users they've seen it. And then we can make decisions if something is malicious and to be careful, or whether it's funny and to laugh.
So it's a brilliant insight by Sam Gregory, who I know well. His organization does incredible work, not only with regards to thinking about deepfakes, but disinformation and misinformation in general. And he's absolutely right. This goes back to the point I was making earlier about we need to build safety into the architecture of our information ecosystem, because we as sole individuals and citizens are not going to be able to tell when something is a deepfake or not. And there are many, many companies going to be working in this space of generating synthetic media, basically AI generated fake media, because there's going to be so many commercial viable applications. It's going to rewrite the future of the industry of film, fashion, corporate communication. So as these people work on building this cool technology, they absolutely have an ethical responsibility to ensure that it is not misused.
Goodness me, let me just do this one more time so that you can see Nina's book. I'm sure you're sick of seeing the book cover. Deep Fakes, the coming Infocalypse. That is Nina's book. It's fascinating. At the very end, you give people ideas about where they should go to get credible information. What are your 3 favorite sites? Go ahead, Nina.
So actually, obviously, it's a real example of how partisan our political environment has already become, or how potent the Infocalypse
In the last 30 seconds of the show, Nina. Dish, your 3 favourite places.
Fresh Draft News
Incredible
is a great
information.
resource. Snopes is a fantastic resource as well. And I'd really, really recommend Witness, the organization, as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Nina Schick. She's the author of Deep Fakes, The Coming Infocalypse. Thank you, YouTubers. We really appreciate your really great questions. And thank you to all of our video commenters as well. You made the show. I'm Femi OK, signing off from the Stream Home Edition. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.